Hello, my name is Nathan Collins. Today I'm going to show you how to use PhotoScape X. This is a complete tutorial going through all the different sections, different tabs, different effects, different adjustments you're able to make to photos, how you're able to view photos and sort photos, rate photos, how to combine them, how to make a GIF, how to print using PhotoScape X. I've made a lot of different videos over the years in PhotoScape X, but I wanted to put it all into one nice package. So let's begin. And we're going to actually be editing some photos here today from my wife's baby shower. So very fun, very fun. I am 2 months out from becoming a dad, and it's kind of crazy. So if you appreciate this video, definitely leave a like on this video and subscribe if you would like to see more PhotoScape X videos in the future. Also, leave a comment down below if you have any additional questions that I might not cover. So let's begin. PhotoScape X, we're going to open this up. What I would like you to do when you first open PhotoScape X, check to make sure you're running the most recent software, the most recent version. What you want to do is hit this cogwheel over to the side and ensure that you're using PhotoScape X 4.2.1 or higher. But yes, this is the current version that's out for PC and for Mac. So we got that taken care of. Let's begin. This is the home page where you're able to go and look at different effects. This is kind of just a place where they showcase what kind of tools and what kind of effects you're able to do in here. So it's really nice to be able to look through here if you just want some inspiration or want to try something new. So definitely check this page out. And then we're going to move right over to the viewer in PhotoScape X. So when you hop over to the viewer, there's a lot going on. Now, with that being said, we're going to start here on the far left-hand side where we have folders, we have favorites, and we have both. So to begin, what you'd have is over here is folders. This is where you navigate through your computer to be able to find where you have your photos stored. And when you select one, you'll see the photos that are stored in that folder. Now what's nice is that let's say you want to favorite one of these, so let's say the baby shower. I can right click on here and I can add it to favorites. So then when I go over to the favorites tab, instead of seeing all those different folders opened up, I just see baby shower down here. Or I can do some of these other projects that I've worked on in the past, some other photos where you're able to just go through and find them a whole lot faster. So that's really good and really helpful to be able to just jump and find the folder you want by favoriting it. You also have both right here where you're able to not only have your favorited items, you're also able to search as well if you're looking for something specific that might not be favorited at this time. So you go and you find the photos that you're wanting, and you've got these folders here, and what's great is you're actually able to go through and sort your photos. Over here at the top right hand side, you have a section over here where you can select only the portrait photos or only the landscape photos. Or if you have different types of photos like raw photos or JPEG photos, you could just search for those. What's also nice is that there's different ways to view these. You can view them like in full screen or just in a grid. And there's different ways to adjust this as well. Ways to zoom out or zoom in, whatever is easiest for you to find the photo you're looking for. But what's nice is that if you click into a photo and you say, hey, I really like that photo there, you're able to go in and flag it, which would be rating it, saying, hey, I want to remember this one. Or you're even able to give it a star rating. Down here at the bottom right, there's a star rating where you can rate it, 1 star, 5 star, however you want to rate it. But you can rate it those 5 stars, and then maybe you search through a few more photos and you say, oh wow, that one's super great. I absolutely love this photo. Hey, I need to go and select it as 5 stars. Then let's say later down the road you were trying to figure out, hey, what was that one photo that I really liked, or those photos that I decided, hey, I want to take time and edit those. What you'll want to do is you actually want to go to landscape, and there's different ratings, like you could do flagged or rejected. But if you go into rating, you can say, hey, I want to filter and just find the 5-star photos. You click that, and then there it is. Just the 5-star photos are showing up. So that's awesome to be able to look up photos very quickly and to sort and organize them, because no matter if you close out the software, you come back a week later, those ratings stay with that photo, and you'll be able to search and find those photos down the road. So that's really great. What else is really cool is, let's say you have two images that are very similar to each other. Let's see if we have something like that. Oh, we don't have any that are super similar. But let's say we have this photo, or we have this photo here. Oh, here we go. These two. So both of them are her holding a present. So what's nice is, let's say you were confused, like, okay, which photo do I want to edit? Which one do I want to keep? They both are pretty similar. This happens a lot when you're taking photos one right after another. But you actually have up here at the middle, kind of top section here, you have a button where you're able to compare two photos side by side. And with those two photos side by side, you're able to see which one you like better. What's also nice is you're able to zoom in using the slider on the bottom left-hand side. You're able to zoom in and be able to look at both photos and see what do you like or what do you not like about the two images. And then you can make your selection, deciding, hey, I want to flag this one and I want to reject this other one because I thought this one wasn't as good. So then when you're searching, you can ignore the ones you decided not to use, and you're able to keep the ones you want to use. So that's really helpful in the edit tab there. It's also nice because with most photo types, you're able to simply go and rotate an image right there in the viewer, which is really good because it's a quick, simple way to make those adjustments, or just to be able to view it in the angle that you want to. There's a few other things in here that you can do. There's a full screen section, which is great. And then if you click in on that full screen section, you actually get a lot of just metadata, which is just like, oh, what size is the image? What is the quality of the image? When was the image taken? A lot of different good information here. And these images are not the full quality of the images. I still have to pick those up from my sister sometime. These were just sent over, but not in full quality. So I'll have to pick those up sometime. So very cool. That is the viewer there. Now, what's nice is we can hop over straight to the editor. Or in the viewer, you can actually just go to the bottom right hand and hit edit. And then you jump in and you're editing that specific photo. And you have on this left-hand side, in PhotoScape X, you've got all these different thumbnails on the side to be able to see what image you want to edit. So if you are just starting out, you could just kind of click around, find the image you want to edit, or you can find it in the viewer. But let's select the image that we want to edit. So let's say we want to edit this one. This one's super cute. So she's getting a gift. It's a cute bunny. She's smiling. So when you're in the edit tab, you have the same kind of folders, favorites, and both on this side. You also have all these thumbnails. But as soon as you have your image selected and you know what image you're going to use, you can click over here. This is a way where you're able to put that, all that stuff off to the side, so you don't need that, and you're able to just focus on the image you're editing. So a little bit of things that are good to know here in the editor. Up here at the top right, you have close to close out of it. You have the previous photo, the next photo. So that's great if you're just like, oh, which photo was I going to edit? Over here, you have the edit, color, film, light, frame, insert, and tool. There's a lot there. We're going to unpack that in a bit. Over here at the bottom, you have the grid. So you can make a grid so you're able to kind of section out your photos if you have a specific thing you're trying to do. I like to keep just this one here where it shows me what the outline of the photo is. And then you're also able to change the background if that helps you to be able to see how the image is looking a little bit better. You're also able to zoom in or zoom out. And then down here on the right hand side on the bottom, you've got open. This would be to like open a new image, save your image, or if you hit more, you're able to do a lot of really good things. So you're able to hit save as to save your image as a different name, or save as a project, which is great because if you're adding different elements like text or an extra image into your edit, you're able to save as a project and then come back to it later, and then you're able to work on it again. absolutely love the fact that you can save as a project in PhotoScape X. There's other things like show info, full screen preview, copy to clipboard, and share. We'll talk more about copy to clipboard a bit later, but it's a great way to adjust and edit your images and be able to move them between tabs really easily. So with that being said, I did want to show you that if you do close this, you do get to your beginning where it says drop your photo here. So you can drag and drop it in, or there is a section here where you can hit open, new, or more. When you hit new, it'll ask you, hey, we're going to make a canvas where we're able to put stuff on or adjust or edit things. So you could do a white canvas, 1,000 pixels by 1,000 pixels. There's even presets if you were going to make sure, hey, I'm making an Instagram post or I'm making a YouTube thumbnail. But you're able to select what you're doing, hit OK, and you start with kind of a blank slate. Or you can start with like a solid color or whatever you want. And then you're able to add more things into it later. So that's good to have that there, but we're just going to work on this edit. So let me go back to viewer. All right, we got the image we wanted. We're going to hit edit, editing in the edit tab. So in the edit tab, there's a lot for sure, but the way that this user interface works is you have edit. So you have this edit section here, or you have the color section, the film, the light, frames, insert, which even has more adjustments, and tools. So that's where you're going to be kind of going through these different sections as you're editing the image. So let me just show you a few simple things to do in PhotoScape X to begin, just getting you started. Some people really like the ability to crop your image, say it's shot too wide or you want to zoom in on some details. You can click crop and you're able to just draw your section. Or if you know, hey, I want it to be a 1 by 1, which would be a square, you can just draw it and it'll be a square because you selected 1 by 1. You go to original, so this would be the same aspect ratio that it was shot in originally, or you can go and select any number of things that you want as well. So that's really good. And what's nice is that if you want to, you can go and hit custom, and you can custom it to anything. So 21 by 9, which is usually the size of like a banner, you can go and select that as well. So it's great. You're able to customize it however you want, and you can even do some perspective things. So like a really interesting crop or a circle crop, a lot that you can do here. So that's the crop. There's also resize, magic color, bloom, and I've made other videos on these different tools, but it's important to be able to just go through and see how these tools work and then be able to play around with them more in the future. Like just recently, I made a video talking about one of the tools in this edit tab, because you have transformations. So there's a lot of transformations here. There's the effects tools. There are a lot of really neat effects in here. And you even have adjustments. Now, these are just tools. If you learn that you like one, use it as much as you want. If you don't feel like exploring too much, you don't have to. You're not missing out. It's just something where the more that you learn, the more that you're able to use in your edits in the future. So like in this case, I just made a video on the point color, the emphasize color tab. And what's awesome is that I'm able to select, let's say, this pink of her dress, or maybe her face, or maybe something on the box. But I'm able to select this, and I'm going to make it a lot less dramatic. But what's neat is I'm able to enhance certain parts of the image, and I'm able to make the rest of the image more black and white. It can make a really neat effect on here. And what's great is you're even able to like mask certain sections. So then I'm able to like remove stuff and keep stuff, do different things to be able to give a cool creative look, and something where, hey, it's desaturating the background, keeping just the foreground. Now, if that just went way over your head and you're like, hey, I just came here for the basics, that's totally fine. There's a lot of tools in this edit tab, and exploring them is super key to just continuing to grow. So every so often, just take a look at one of these tabs and say, hey, what is that Vignette tab? What does that look like? And you're like, hey, that's pretty cool. I can adjust it to be wide or dodge or burn or black. I can make these different adjustments in here, and maybe you're like, hey, that makes the image so much better. It's just going through and learning these a little bit over time. So I'd encourage you guys to do that. It's really a helpful thing to do. There are other things you can do. You can go to favorites if there's certain things you want to be able to favorite, or even macros, which is something that is kind of tough to do, but some people get to use them. I've made videos on them in the past, but really the key things in here is just to be able to make some simple edits in this edit tab, and then to be able to save and be able to work that way. There's also redo and undo buttons down here at the bottom, or there's shortcuts as well that you can do, which is like Control Z to go back. So with that being said, let's look at the color tab. So if you're in the color tab, this is all focused around getting the colors of your image just right. So there are ways you can go and adjust it, where you say, hey, I want to add more contrast to this image, or I want to add more saturation to this image, or I want to take some of it away. So you're able to do that. You're also able to change like the color temperature to make the image look more warm. You're able to change a tint if for some reason you want to do a tint. That's probably more for abstract work. But you're able to make these adjustments. You're able to select a magic color, which is kind of the automatic adjustment to try to see if, hey, do you like that? Is that what you're kind of wanting to do? Or there's even HDR, where you're able to make the photo look more dynamic. So with those things being noted, there's a lot you can do in the color tab. There's even a more section where you're able to change things like the hue and adjust that. You're able to adjust, whether the shadows get turned up or if you want them turned down. A lot that you can do. But one thing that's really neat in PhotoScape X is you are able to mask certain sections. I made an entire video on masking, but basically you're able to go and say, hey, I just want to select, let's say, her face. If I select my wife's face and we get that selected there, we could adjust it and say, hey, I want to brighten it up because maybe there wasn't a lot of light on her face or something. I could brighten up her face a little bit. And you could brighten it up a ton. Just for example here, you can brighten that up. Or let's say you wanted to make this bunny here a lot to show up more, make that brighter. Or you can make it darker. You can do a lot of different things. With the mask, you're able to select and deselect just certain sections of your image, which is great. So instead of looking at a photo and saying, man, this one part of the image got all messed up, instead you can look at it and say, hey, if I just correct this little section of the image, it's going to look so much better. It's going to work so much better if I can just adjust this small little section. So I'd encourage you guys to spend some time in the color tab just to get it right to where you want it to be. But yeah, you can definitely change and adjust all the sliders and get it to be just what you want. So definitely want to encourage you guys to check that out. That is the color tab. All right, so then we have the film tab. This is kind of the quick, super simple way to get certain kind of looks. Like, oh man, I want that like old school Polaroid look, or hey, I want it to have this really neat effect on it. What's nice is that, say you have an effect that you like, but you're like, wow, that's a little too strong. You actually have a dial here where you're able to tone it down and to make it just a light effect, just a small effect or a really big effect. Once again, you see this mask tab here where you could just have it masked to only adjust for certain sections of the image. So it's really nice to see those tools popping up more and more in different sections of PhotoScape X. It's not in every section, but it's in a lot of them. And what's nice is there's so many options out here. So in the film effect, there's two-tone, there's look, there's overlays to make it look like it's got some kind of texture on the back there. There's even a tab that says textures, where it's like real legitimately just textures. Old photo look. There's a lot that you can do in here, and it's really nice to have that much flexibility. And once again, seeing those different tabs like mask, where you can mask just certain sections or change the amount, a lot that you can do here. So film effect does a lot of different overlays, and you can even do parts of photos. Light is kind of interesting, so you can add different like light flares into your image. Some of them cover up like the entire image, which is okay. You can adjust the scale of them, and you can also adjust the amount of them. You can even turn them and rotate them. Really a lot there, but kind of just play around with it, adjust it, see what you like, and maybe you find something that just looks really cool for that specific image that you're looking for. So I'd encourage you guys to take a look at those different light effects. There's some fun ones out there for sure. And because you're able to adjust how much the effect is in the image, it's really nice. Even changing the tint in this case, like I could make it the tint of her dress and add more color that way. So really fun in there. The frames are exactly like it sounds. You can add just a frame or a border onto the image, and there are some nice ones here that actually look really good. So that's cool. There's different shapes you can do. And what's neat is, like, let's say you do a shape. I'm trying to see, is there a heart? There should be a heart in here somewhere. Oh, there's even some baby ones. Oh, that's kind of fun. Yeah. So there's a lot of different ones in here. But let's say you select one that you really like. And then what you can do is you can actually change the background, which is really cool. There's a lot of different patterns and backgrounds in this software, and every so often you see this section pop up and you can put that background wherever you want it. And there's a ton of backgrounds, so many options here, which is why I like this software so much. So much creativity that you can put into it. Even selecting like a gradient, and you can go and select whatever color you want, so you can get just what you're looking for there. So I think it's fun to be able to have that much freedom in the frame tab. And then also in the borders tab, you're able to put a border around your image. When you are doing something that has transparency, I keep telling this to people all the time, and I keep getting comments saying, hey, I added some transparency onto my image, or I cut out a certain section of it, and I want it to be transparent, which is see-through. You're able to go to save or save as, and whenever you save as, just make sure that instead of saving it as a JPEG image, you're clicking down and saving it as a PNG image. PNG means you're going to be able to have that transparency. If you do it just as JPEG, it's going to come out with still a white background, even if you told it to do transparency. So that's just a formatting kind of tidbit there, which is helpful. So that's the frame section. I think it's really neat to be able to have that. Next, you have the Insert tab. Now, the Insert tab is kind of interesting. You click the Insert tab, and it pops out, and it gives you a bunch of stuff in this Insert tab. Stickers, images, text, figures, magnify, and filters, including things like arrows, squares, circles, all these things. So let's look at them. Stickers. They have tons of stickers. I don't know why PhotoScape X likes stickers so much, but they love them. They absolutely love them. So there's a chicken sticker. Like, did they need to do that? No, but they did it just for the fun of it. And when you zoom it out real big, it still looks, or make it incredibly large, it still looks pretty decent. I believe these are vector images, and that's why when you stretch them, they don't pixelate, or don't pixelate very much. But yeah, there's stickers, there's images. So let's say you wanted to add another image in there, even if it's, you could do a transparent image, you could do whatever you want, but you can add another image in there. And yeah, it's as simple as finding the next image you want and dragging it in. So that's really fun to be able to put these different images in here and to have that level of flexibility. Okay, so that's the adding images. One thing I would like to mention, PhotoScape X has done a great job where if you add an image nowadays and you drop the image into a photo, they have a bunch of adjustments you can still make to the image. So for example, you drop this image in, you're able to adjust like the opacity of it, like if it's see-through or not. You're also able to do some other adjustments, like there's a color adjustment. You click that and it actually opens up the color tab. When you're working on, a separate image here, you're able to say, oh, I want a little darken, a little deepen here, a little clarity here. You can even go in and mask the image as well and say, hey, I want to select the mountains to get this little adjustment in here. And you're able to see how that adjustment will look, hit apply, and then it actually applies it to the image you are working on. It's really nice that PhotoScape X is now allowing you to, even in a big project where you're adding multiple images in, still be able to take just one of the images and adjust it using the color tab. So that's really good. And there's other things you can do, like you can do a shadow, you can do an outline. I can make it bigger so you guys can see what that would look like. An outline, all sorts of stuff. So really good that you're able to drop other images into a project you're working on. Text is really good. You're able to put some text in here, and you're able to make it look and feel however you want. You could put an outline on it, or you could leave it blank. You could have it as a gradient color, or you can leave it, solid white, or whatever color you want to select. They've got a color wheel here where you're able to select any color you want. I've made an entire video on text, but it's really nice what they've been doing with text. They've got, drop shadows on there. They've got outer glow. They've got inner glow. They've got inner shadow. There's a lot that you can do in here. Even transform, where you're able to adjust how it looks and how it adjusts. There's a lot in there. Definitely watch that full video on using text in PhotoScape X, but it's really nice how much they allow you to do with text. Let's see if there's anything else in here that I would really encourage you to look at. We've got the font. You can select whatever font that you like. So let's say if you were just really impressed by this elephant font or whatever, you can go and hit add, and you can add it to favorites. So then I can just click through some of my favorite fonts and be able to say, okay, I want that font. And then, oh no, but instead of having to cycle through all these different fonts, like, do I want to use Papyrus this time or not? You can just go and select out of your favorites and say, oh yeah, I always use this font for this kind of project or this kind of image. But then you don't lose it. And you can be consistent that way. So favoriting things is really good. Let's see. And then in these different texts and things like that, one thing that's also important is they do have things like patterns. You can add patterns to your text. You're able to add different colors. You're able to also do that gradient like we talked about before. So a lot of fun things in here. One thing I will mention is that you're able to actually hit favorite on some of these sections. So like, let's say you got this white and blue and you really like that. You can hit favorite, and I've already favorited a lot of other sections, but let's say you make something totally new. Like I love this green and this red together. Oh, it's so good for whatever reason. You can go hit add, and then it adds it to your favorites, and then you're able to go back and just select that. So you can get a bunch of ones that you really love, and then be able to just quickly get that exact text effect and be able to save it. So that's really great. So with text out of the way, oh yes, and then adding text, you just, write in whatever you want. So very good. Other things in here, there's figures. These are just different shapes. A magnifying glass, which is kind of cool if you wanted to add a magnifying glass. There's different filters, like if you wanted to do like, if you wanted to hide something, like, oh, let's not show that it's a bunny, let's hide it so then that people don't know. Like, you can do that, and there's different ways where you can make it really powerful, or like a really not that blurred section. But let's say you had to blur someone's face, that's how you do it. Just so many tools in here. And then this stuff in here, the squares and stuff, if you messed around in Microsoft Paint for any number of time, you kind of know how this goes, where you can draw something and change the color and change the thickness and different lines and things like that. But adding shapes, it can be helpful. So that is the Insert tab. There's so much in there, so much that you can use, and it's so great that they've continued to make it better and better over time. Over here in the Tools tab is great because you're able to adjust different sections of your image really well. So let's say you want to draw. You can hit draw, and you can just like draw. Cool. And you're like, okay, this is boring. But what is also interesting is that over here with draw, you can have these different brushes, different adjustments. So you're able to have maybe be able to have a lot more fun with the drawing that you're doing, because it's like, hey, this is the clouds, or this looks less of like something where it's like, man, I don't have this artistic ability. Hey, it all looks really weird. With how you do your brushes, you can make it look better. There's also a section over here called Scatter, which is really interesting because you can click over here and you can scatter these different dots or these different stars or hearts all over your image, and you can change the color of these dots when you're drawing them, so you can get a better setup here. So like, let's say if you wanted to do red, you do red, and there's a color range where it will do colors that are close to red. So you can do that, or you can change it where the range isn't as high and all sorts of things. You can even do hearts. So I think it's a lot of fun. Just one of those fun things they have in there just to make PhotoScape X interesting and fun. PhotoScape X was originally made in Korea, and it was supposed to be just a fun and fast photo editor. They've added a lot of tools here where I think it becomes actually really powerful, but that's where it originally got started. Also, in the Tools tab, there's other fun things in here, like there's a spot healing brush, there's a clone stamp brush, there's a sharpness brush, a blur brush, but it's really nice. So like spot healing, let's say there's a section of your image that you really don't like. This might be a tough image to find. But let's say for whatever reason, let's say you wanted to take the text out of this section here for whatever reason. You can go just click and draw that, and PhotoScape X will do the best that it can to remove just that section of the image. So now instead of it, let's look at the original. When you're editing, there's this original and compare button. If you hit original, you see what it looked like originally. So that's really neat. So you can see that before we had all this text here and all that, and we got it now, and now there's not. So that's a way that you can like debrand certain things or be able to remove certain things so you can bring more focus to your subject of the image. So that's really nice. Definitely look around tools, see what you like the best. There's a lot in here. So with those things taken care of, we've kind of ran through the editor, and I think we've done a pretty good job of looking at these different ones. Let's go back to the viewer, select a different image, and we'll find another project here. So here we go. So here's a photo of my wife, and we're going to jump over from the editor tab over to the cutout tab. So what we're going to do is kind of you can drag the image, just drag it over to the cutout tab, drop it in, and there you have it. So in the cutout tab, this is where you're able to cut something out of an image, and then you're able to, whether you want to paste it someplace else or just leave that transparent, you're able to cut things out. There's the magic, lasso, and brush tool. And what's great is you're able to cut out any subject you want from an image. Now there's different ways to do this, but I'll show you the way that I do it. If you click in here, you can select a part of the image and it selects the colors, and you're able to increase this as you want to be able to remove the sections you don't want. And if you had just a super plain background, sometimes this is a super fast and really simple process. If it's not a simple background, like in this case, it becomes a little tougher. Other softwares like Photoshop can do this like one-click, super easy way to remove everything. Other times you're gonna have to take some more time to edit it. This is the best that we have in PhotoScape X, so you kind of have to live with it if that's what you're gonna use to cut out images. But what's great is you have the magic color, magic eraser, and the brush tool. Brush tool is really nice because you're able to just go and brush out all the stuff you don't want. And I can make the brush size really big to hopefully complete this fairly quickly. But yeah, if you know what you're doing originally when you first take the photo, you know, hey, let me get you on a plain background. Let me put you behind a green screen or a blue screen or some kind of screen. That'll just make it super easy to cut all this out. But you just do the best that you can, and if you have to edit out something in an image that has a complex background, you can still do it. So it's nice. It is a little bit of manual work, but it's okay. All right. So over time, you can either get better at this or be more thoughtful when you're about to take the photo, or just take time to do it just right. One thing that's nice is down here at the bottom, you can select to have a certain kind of a bit of a transparent background, so you're able to see what you took away and what you have left. Shows kind of what is selected. You're able to also select erase or restore. So I'm going to restore certain sections that might have gotten cut out too much, like part of her dress here got cut out. So we're going to keep some of that and then We're going to subtract this. But yes, you can take as long as you want on these different things. But if you do it right, you can actually make a really nice selection and be able to edit things really well. Oopsie, wrong button. Okay, so let's say we've got all of this stuff selected. All good to go. Cool. Now, when you're done with this, you can either save your image, like you could save it, you could hit save as. Actually, I believe save was only going to let you save as, and it saves it out as a PNG, so it saves that transparency. You're all good to go. So that's where you're able to save the image. Let me just show you what that would look like. Saving that to desktop, you got that saved. Show in Explorer, so we open this up, and then here is the image that we removed. So it's just my wife now. One thing that's also nice is that in here, if for whatever reason you wanted to invert, so basically you can hit invert mask, and then it's everything else except my wife would be removed or transparently cut out of that image. So that's one way you can look at it to be able to see, oh, did I forget a part? Did I leave a part? Or sometimes you want to actually crop out the subject for different projects you're working on. So nonetheless, you get that done. One way, if you're wanting to just bring this right into the editor, you're able to right click on the project you're working on and hit copy to clipboard. What copy to clipboard does is it copies that selection, and then you're able to move it to someplace else in your image. So in this case, I could right click, I could hit paste. So that's going to paste it from the clipboard, and I've then copied what we had cut out. So you copy it. I right click here sometimes, make sure I have it scaled to 100% so it's the same size of what it was before. And there you go. You have two of them now, which is great. Now you could put it on this image, or you could insert it as a photo into any other image you want. But that's something that's really nice. So then you have the ability to take anything from a photo, take it out, and put it into another project. So Cutout tab is really nice that way. If we want to jump into the, I suppose one thing I want to note here in Cutout tab before we move on is when you do select magic color, you select one time, but then you're able to adjust the tolerance. So you're able to increase it more or less. So you're able to get it to just where you want it to be before you hit apply, and then you continue to move on. Sometimes if you do hit apply and it removed like part of her face, sometimes that's actually a good thing because it's pretty easy to just go into the brush and brush that back out. So take a look at those things, mess around with it. It's a lot of fun. If we hop over here to the batch tool, what the batch tool does is, let's say you have a bunch of different images that are all the same, or like, here's my wife, here's my wife, here's my wife, all about the same. Let's say you said, hey, I want to crop all these to be a square. What's awesome is that you're actually, you can actually go to crop, and you can make some adjustments here to crop them just to the way that you want. It's not as intuitive as some other softwares out there, but what you could do is say, oh yeah, from this side, I want to, let's see. You say, hey, I want to cut off, on this side, I want to cut off 200 pixels on this side. I want to cut off 200 pixels on this side, and you get it closer to being a square. Now, what's interesting is that crop has now been done to all three of these images all at once. This is what batch editing is all about, being able to make a ton of adjustments to a bunch of photos all at one time. So it does work really well. Like if you went to the color tab and you said, hey, I know that I want to brighten all of these photos up by 20 or by 50 or something like that, then it's all the images have now been brightened, and you can do a bunch of edits all at the same time. So darken, deepen, add some clarity here. Let's say you're like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly how I want to do it. You can set it up to do that for all the different images. Now, most people don't want or don't need to do this. They like to edit them all individually. But if you have a lot to do and you find something that works really well, you can set that up to batch edit. And then when you do batch edit in here, one thing to remember is that when you save out, it will have this kind of complicating thing in here, like, oh, it's going to save with batch as the pretext or the prefix, and oh, what is the format. Just make sure you have it all set up the way that you like it, and then hit OK. It might take a couple minutes to actually render out all the images because they had to do one after another, but it does work really well in the times that I've tested it. But yes, that's the batch editing. Collage works exactly how you would think. Collage is basically, hey, you drop one image in, you drop the second image in, and there you go. You can move and adjust things, and you can add, white patterns, or you can use white as a backdrop. You can use patterns. You can select your pattern. You can adjust the spacing. You can adjust if there's roundness or not. You can select, hey, do I want it side by side? Do I want them over on top? Do I want 9 photos in here? Do I want 6 photos? There's a lot that you're able to do, and it makes it so much fun when you're able to just move around and adjust these images to just create the perfect collage that you're wanting to do. And what's also cool is you have these the ability to grab certain sections and be able to adjust them. This might get a little bit complicated because I have like 6 images here. But let's say if I just went down to 2, I could adjust this line to be wherever I want it to be. So I think that's really cool to be able to have all those adjustments available to you. And if you click into these, you're able to actually make some slight adjustments as well. Like, hey, I want this to be a grayscale image. You're able to hop into film even and jump like into the actual film tab and select exactly the film look you wanted. And there you go. You've got that right in there. But yeah, definitely a lot of different adjustments you're able to make. You're able to rotate the image. You're able to scale it to like zoom it in, things like that, and click and just drag and move it around. So very nice that there's all those different tools available to you. Definitely play around with it because it's a lot of fun. And then over here, you even at the bottom right hand side, there's the insert tab. You can insert a sticker, image, figures, and text. Being able to just insert text like this is so nice. And when you learn these different tabs in PhotoScape X, you start seeing them in different places and you say, hey, I can insert stuff right here. I'll just do that. I'll take care of that. And it's really nice because, there's so many times where, if you just continue to learn these softwares, they actually continue to become more and more useful over time. So that's what I would recommend for you guys. Over here in the Combine tab, this is really good because let's say you had images that you just wanted to put together into like a 4x4 square. You didn't want to do anything with collages. You just wanted to put them all together. You can do that, and it works pretty well. And you can adjust like, oh yes, do I want it to be the same size? Do I want it to be the original size? How many columns do I want? Like 3 columns or 1 column? And you're able to save it out as just one image. So that's kind of like the collage, but this gives you a different kind of flexibility. Like for the collage, you're going to end up with a certain resolution at the end of the day. And you can adjust what that resolution is, but sometimes combining them can make it easier. I know that I've used this before when I'm editing like a group photo. So you have a group photo of a bunch of people. I don't think I have a group photo of a bunch of people here, for example. And sometimes hopping back to the viewer just makes it so much easier because you're able to just find the image you're wanting and then just drag it over to the tab that you were working on. In this case, the Combine tool. Say you had a few different photos of a group photo. You could go and put them all together and then be able to collect different parts of different images and be able to mash them all together. I'll have to make a video on that to make it more clear of how that all works. But yes, you can add that Combine tool in there and make it however you want it to be. So very good. All right, so in the Create GIF tab, you're able to drop images in, and it will be able to show it up as like a little slideshow. And this is something that people like might send you a text or might send you something like on the internet, and it'll just cycle through a few photos just real quick. And sometimes it's like an animated motion picture thing, or in some cases, it's just photos just one after another. In this case, that's what PhotoScape X is doing. You're able to just select one photo after another. You're able to change the duration. Like, hey, I want it to be like 3 seconds in between each photo, or I want it to be a half a second, whatever you'd want it to be. There's even transition effects like slide up, or there is like slide down. I think my transition time might need to be longer to be able to accommodate for that. But yeah, like slide up, you hit that, and then it will slide up to the next image. Slide up and then slide up. So you can do that however you want. One thing that's really nice in PhotoScape X is that you're able to drop in almost as many photos as you want. Your computer might have to think for a little longer to load everything, but like in this case, I'm dropping like 50 some photos into the project. It's able to go one after another and be able to show all of them. You're able to adjust the size if you want it to be a really high quality size, or you can make it just something real small, which might be easier to like send in a text or send to someone. But you get that all done, and what's cool is you're able to actually adjust to see, oh, this is the first image or the second image, and I want to make sure this effect is different. So you could go into here and say, oh, I want to slide down on this one. So you can do those different adjustments, and then you're able to see how that works. But nonetheless, that's what you're able to do. You're able to add text in here. It's just kind of a fun thing you're able to put in here. Then you're able to hit save when you're all done, and then hit save. All right, add the name there, save it, and then it saves it actually really quickly, and then you're able to just jump right into it, open it up, and be able to play that GIF or even send it to other people. So that's really neat. Depending on what kind of device you're on, maybe you might have some trouble opening it, but as long as it's able to open a normal GIF, you're able to. So very cool there. Other things in here, we have the print tab. I'm not going to spend a long time on the print tab because some people really don't like the print tab, and I even find it challenging to use sometimes. But what you're able to do is you select your printer, you select what size of paper you're using, you select, oh, is it a portrait or landscape? You're able to say, oh, I want to print it all to just one page, or maybe, hey, I want it to be a bunch of them, just different sections. You know, there's different ways to do it, but definitely set it up exactly the way you want, hit print, and then you're off to the races. But if you run into any issues, just be fair warned that PhotoScape X, their print tab isn't the greatest, but you can utilize it. And if you run into issues, feel free to jump to whatever software you usually use for printing. That could be saving your photo out and then being able to print it later. Or put it into a collage into just one image and then save it out and then print it later. So those are just some thoughts there on the print tab. There's one other tab in here, which is the Tools tab, which basically does things like screen capture, color picker, and rename. I'll just spend a moment on the color picker. Basically, wherever you're at in the software, let's say you're working on a project, you're able to actually hit the Tools tab, hit the color picker, and then you're able to select any section of this image and pick the color. Like, say you're like, oh man, I really love that pink. I'm going to select that pink, and you hit spacebar, and then it selects that color. Let's make sure I'm all good here. Select that color, and then you're able to hit copy, and then you have that color selected. So let's say you wanted to insert a square in here. You can go in here and insert it, paste it as that color, and then you've got that color pasted. This is great if you're like going to maybe add some text to this image and say, oh, tea time. And then you drop this in here, and then you've got it, and it looks better because you grabbed the color from the actual image itself. So that's just something you can do in there. But you guys, yeah, that is PhotoScape X. There are some other tools you can find in that cog wheel where you're able to reset PhotoScape X if it's starting to act weird. You're able to change the theme to like the light theme if you really want to. I personally don't like the light theme. It seems super bright. But yes, so you've got the dark theme right in there. But yeah, that's PhotoScape X, and I hope this was helpful for you guys. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions or comments. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.